This is a good one, not for people in California, because so much of your taxpayers' money has been wasted on this ridiculous project. But from the standpoint of what I'm going to read to you in just a second, there's actually some pretty funny stuff from the state of California responding to this, which is California drops. They unilaterally just dropped a lawsuit over the Trump decision to pull $4 billion in high-speed rail funds. The Trump administration said, you're way over budget, you're never going to get this done in time, and you haven't laid any track yet, and this thing is not happening. It's not happening. We're not giving you any more money for your boondoggle of a rail line that goes to nowhere. Goes to nowhere. It's a wild story. Let's get into it. Here we go. Here's the quote I want you to hear. The California High-Speed Rail Authority, which, isn't very effective, which filed the lawsuit in July, said the decision to abandon this lawsuit. They're looking for $4 billion. That the Trump administration said, no, you're not getting that from us. We're not giving that to you because this project is going nowhere. They're supposed to have it up and running by 2033. They will not. They will not. They will not even be remotely close at that point in time. Said the decision to abandon it reflected the state's assessment. Here it comes. This is great. Assessment that the federal government, the one who pays all the bills when shit hits the fan, federal government is not a reliable, constructive, or trustworthy partner in advancing high-speed rail in California. Federal government, not a reliable, constructive, or trustworthy partner. Based on the fact that you've taken a project that was supposed to cost $13 billion, it cost $133 billion now. It was supposed to be done in 2020, and not a single line of track has been constructed of which you can ride along. Not one. You got a bunch of infrastructure, but even the infrastructure has been absolutely screwed in this project because you've gone out of sequence on the way things should have gone. I'm no project manager, but, Trump of all presidents is a guy who's overseen just a scooch of construction, right? And when he says, no, we're not giving you any more money, that's not being petty. That's just actually being responsible. Imagine how much Biden would have handed out. Oh, he would have said, here's another $100 billion. Let's see if you guys could short track this one, right? Reliable, constructive, or trustworthy partner. Well, in this case, I'm going to actually go with the federal government is being responsible with taxpayers' money. I hate to say that, but taking this money back and saying, no, we're not giving it to you. It makes absolute sense. The agency said it plans to move forward without federal funding. They're not going to give any to us. We don't really deserve any, but we got to put out a statement anyway. And here is that statement. Move forward without federal funding, adding that only 18% of program expenditures for the long-delayed project have come from federal funds. Okay, so you need to come up with another 20% now that you budgeted that, federal taxpayers were going to cover. So now you need to come up with that as well. And you guys had this lawsuit and you just basically fell on your sword and said, we're going to go with the federal government. They're just not a good partner. This isn't a good fit. We're not on the same page. Yeah, you're not on the same page because the page that you're trying to create, I don't think it's doable. And maybe not even in my lifetime, right? Maybe not even in my lifetime. You got another 25 years to go. You know what I mean? I'll be 82. The longer you live, less likely it is that you stay alive. What's Tyler Durden and Fight Club? On a long enough extended timeline, nobody makes it out alive. Something like that, highly paraphrasing. The Federal Railroad Administration issued a 315-page report in June, finding the project was plagued by missed deadlines, budget shortfalls, and questionable ridership projections. So now we're talking about is anybody even going to ride it? And, of course, on the front end, you're going to say, 1 million people each day before 8 a.m. are going to ride the high-speed rail. Who knows what that's going to be, but it sounds like, well, based on regular projections of how these projects go, this is what we're expecting. You're expecting something differently, and you need that money because you're $100 billion over budget. You're $100 billion over budget, way over budget, right? Yeah, sorry, it wasn't $13 billion. Let's get down to it. Project has been plagued by delays, cost overruns. Originally planned for completion by 2020 at a cost of $33 billion. Maybe they started off with $10 billion. $10 billion's in there. Who's counting? Who gives a rat's ass at this point in time, right? Billions of dollars. I mean, it's only your money. Just let's spread it around. Let's spread a little grift around. Cost of $33 billion. The project is now forecast to cost between $89 billion and $128 billion. I'm going with 133 because that's the outside number I keep reading. Okay? With service now expected to start by 2033. You have gotten nowhere, and it has been, 2008? So we are looking at, isn't that insane? We're looking at 20 years, coming up on 20 years, and not a single line of track has been laid. Railway system, which first bond issue was approved by California in 2008, has built more than 50 major railway structures, including bridges, overpasses, undercrossings, and viaducts, and completed nearly 80 miles of guideway for the project. Okay, all right. And how many miles is this total? California to San Fran, and at 200-something miles an hour, it's going to take 3 hours to get there. Why would you do that versus riding a plane? I'm just spitballing here, right? Why would you do that versus riding a plane? Transportation Department in August canceled another $175 million for 4 projects that are part of the high-speed rail program following the cancellation of $4 billion in federal grants. California agency said this week it was beginning a process to attract private investors and developers by summer of 2026. What do you think those pitches look like? What kind of pitch, if you're a municipality, are you going to make? You're an agency involved with running this. What kind of pitches are you going to make to private investors and developers? Yeah, right? Monetization of everything in this process? Yeah, I think so. Agency said on Friday that the loss of federal funding will not derail the project. See what they did there with the play on words, derail? It's going off the rails of this crazy train. Or construction, adding that it was making progress. We're making good progress. We're a scooch over budget. Our timeline, let's be honest, our timeline is absolutely hosed. We don't have one. We threw that out 15 years ago. We're just going by the seat of our pants here. We got the high-speed rail between LA and San Fran. What could go wrong? Rather than continuing to spend time and money challenging the termination, the state is moving forward without them, without the federal government. Now, if this thing had a shot at all of actually working, which some people are going to say, oh, Sean, it does. Yeah, what year? What decade? What lifetime? And how much is it going to be? I mean, if you've gone from 33 to 133, 128, if we're actually following the numbers in this article, is it ridiculous to think that this is a $200 billion project? I don't think so. I think this goes $200 billion, no problem. Especially with you've got all these cost overruns and you've got just inflation alone. California drops lawsuit over Trump pulling high-speed rail funding, as he should have. Now, okay, we've covered the guts of what's going on. Let's watch this video. Check this out. Now, keep in mind, this is from 13 years ago. So, 2012. This is 2012. We're talking about California high-speed rail to nowhere. Okay? And this is back when it was estimated to be billions and billions of dollars less. But it's basically, we're in the exact same spot. It's just more years have gone by and even less has been accomplished than what they'd estimated back then. So here we go.
Drew Griffin is on the money trail again tonight, and he's found California's dream of a high-speed rail line is in real trouble. So much trouble that it could end up being a high-speed rail line to nowhere, despite billions of federal stimulus dollars already pledged. Now, we've been down this road before. Remember Solyndra, the solar power company that got federal loan guarantees, then went belly up? Well, the Romney campaign is trying to make sure you do not forget. This is from a new web ad that it's running.
You've heard of Solyndra. They took $535 million in taxpayer loan guarantees and went bankrupt. But that's not even half the story. Obama's Department of
Well, the ad's message that President Obama hasn't done a good job choosing companies to invest your tax dollars in. We'll let you decide that for yourself. As for California's high-speed rail line, another project backed by President Obama, it turns out the original cost estimates were way off, and now there's a real chance the rail line may never be completed. Here's Drew's report.
It sure looks like the future, an animated version of California's high-speed rail. And it sounded really cool, too. L.A. to San Francisco at more than 200 miles an hour. No planes, no cars, no fuss. That's why Californians voted for it back in 2008, passing a $10 billion bond measure for a train that was projected to eventually cost $34 billion. Keeping them honest, it's now 4 years later. Not a single track has been laid, and a bombshell report was dropped on California's taxpayers last fall. Their $34 billion train would actually cost closer to 3 times the estimated amount.
The new business plan puts a cost estimate of about $98 to $118 billion.
It was a shocker. 3 times the estimated cost. And guess what? You, the federal taxpayer, might be on the hook for a big chunk of it. We'll get to how that's possible in just a moment. But in California, the sticker shock caused yet another change in accounting, a big turnover with California's High-Speed Rail Authority Board, and yet another rethinking of just where the train will go and how.
Let's rethink, let's reimagine, let's re-engineer this train to nowhere. And originally, we sold it to you as, L.A. to San Francisco to L.A., right? We did that. Come to find out, it's a little bit more expensive than we originally imagined. So we've had to, scooch our expectations down just a tad. Now we're going to go from, I think it's like literally Bakersfield to Merced or something like that. I mean, it's like not from nowhere to nowhere, but not L.A. to San Fran either. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, here we go.
How fast and how much it would cost.
Today, we are releasing the revised plan.
In a press conference, a new route, a new slower speed, and a new cost estimate. Now in the neighborhood of $68 billion. Still twice as much as originally sold.
There's no question that the costs have gone up.
Dan Richard is the new chairman of California's High-Speed Rail Authority and co-author of that report that sent the high-speed rail plan, slightly off track.
That report was a draft. It was intended to engender comment. It did that rather successfully. And we're looking now at how we revise the plan and strengthen the plan and go forward.
But that is also very troubling. It turns out the latest plan could be for a much slower train. Not actually the high-speed futuristic cartoon California voters approved 4 years ago. More of a hybrid that goes slower, makes a few more stops, and doesn't quite deliver the L.A. to San Francisco promise of just a few hours. And that's not the half of it. This is about to become really political. California's high-speed rail has one huge backer, President Barack Obama. And that is where you come in.
Weird.
The administration has pledged $3.5 billion in stimulus money, also known as federal tax dollars, and that's just so far. Now California admits it will need even more, tens of billions of dollars more from federal taxpayers to finish it. But first you have to start, and that's where it really gets dicey. The foundational segment, the first stretch of track, will cost at least $6 billion alone. and under the new plan, will connect Fresno to Burbank. It won't go anywhere near San Francisco. And in the process,
Okay. It just keeps going down these really dark roads. Instead of this, we're going to do this. Fresno to Burbank. All right. I mean, that's closer-ish, right? Ish. Yeah. Are people, and what is this going to cost? How much is this going to cost the consumer to ride this damn thing? If it ever gets up and running. Is it ever going to get up and run? I don't think. Does it completely get just absolute 86? Does it just, boop, yeah, that's not a project we're doing? I mean, it seems that way, right? Especially if the federal government's pulled out. Now you get some numbnut in there like, Kamala Harris. I could totally see her. Oh, yeah. Barack Obama, I love that guy. If he liked this high-speed train to nowhere, then he must have been onto something. So let's support this from the federal level. Absolute insanity, right? Absolute insanity. But that's what we're doing. California sues Trump over cancellation of high-speed rail funds. Now, this was back in 2019. So California sued. They got like close to $1 billion they clawed back that the Trump administration was going to take during the first administration. And then they've been suing over the $1 billion here. And that's when they recognize they don't really have a chance in hell at getting this money because they don't deserve it. They don't deserve it. They have absolutely botched this project from an oversight, from a project management standpoint. This has been one of the worst boondoggles of all time. From a budget inflation standpoint, I mean this, and we're not even close to being there. We're not even remotely close to being there. And with migration outflow from California, there's no way this thing gets built. This thing gets put on ice, guaranteed. Because the way that the cash flows are going in the state of California, I don't think down the road they're going to have the money to be able to do this. Are they going to be able to put it on the backs of private? I mean, maybe, but would you want to be investing in this bad boy right now? Hey, got a deal for you. Light speed, high speed rail that goes to nowhere. You want to invest? Yeah, big return. It's 20%. Crazy, right? Maybe the Somalis in Minneapolis will invest, after they've clawed back some of that funding from Al-Shabaab, right? Terrorist organization that they're funding with taxpayers' dollars from Minneapolis, that money. So I Googled this, and what was really interesting was the key failures. Political compromises forced inefficient routes through farmland and mountains, sparking lawsuits and land acquisition battles that remain unresolved. So you've still got a whole bunch of stuff going through the legal system, and you don't really have any line down. Construction began prematurely in the Central Valley without full design or land ownership, leading to contractor delays and hundreds of millions in lawsuit claims. Management flaws like creating a new inexperienced agency and sporadic funding compounded issues alongside strict environmental reviews. This thing, and then they go on to the current status. Well, I mean, it looks like they're never getting this thing done. They are never getting this thing done. Don't have the funding, don't have the political will, and certainly don't have the capability of somebody to put together a massive, massive project like this. It's like when you hear, that statement by Reagan, and when Ronald Reagan said, "I'm here from the government. I'm from the government, and I'm here to help." And you're like, all right. Government building this construction project, never going to work. Because it's government, and they just screw everything up. They've got to have so many layers of just absolute nonsense, and it's just not going to work. It's not going anywhere. This is the massive, massive, massive high-speed trail, the cartoon, that goes to nowhere because it's never going anywhere. What'll be interesting is we can look back on this podcast and go, well, was Sean right? Well, he kind of was. It eventually ran in 2052. It went, 4 miles. It went between this block and wherever. Wild stuff, right? This one's going to keep on going because Gavin Newsom's going to keep pushing it. And future leadership in California, they will push this as well. I don't think for a state that can't do a response to a wildfire, building something of this size, of this magnitude, it's beyond them. It is literally beyond them. But hey, I am more than happy to podcast every single little failure along the way. Just like giving up on this $4 billion lawsuit that they just did. Yeah, I'll podcast that 10 ways from Sunday, because why wouldn't I? Make sure you're subscribed, hit that notification bell, hit the like button, share with friends and family. I'll catch up with you in the next episode. Thanks for being here. Bye for now.